What up, guys? Your boy Quake back with a brand new episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast, number 377. And to be honest with you, there's been a lot of like scattered news all over the place, but some of it's been like just bullshit stories that aren't really impactful or anything that's like really interesting that has people talking in any way. I try to report on everything that's like makes sense. That's just like some of the stuff is just like, oh, Bobby Shmurda gets jumped in Minnesota, gets his chain took. Cool. I mean, it's nothing crazy. I'm not saying cool like, oh, that's a good thing. I'm just saying like some of these stories are just kind of come and go and nothing really interesting. But let's get into updates on Diddy. And then there's a few things with Trey Songz. And then and this is the part where I find interesting, is the change in the business of content creation and the change of music that's happening. And it's going to shift things around as the years go on, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens because it affects me, it affects you guys, it affects everybody essentially. So let's first go over the news, and a sexual assault lawsuit has been dismissed. So it's a good look for Diddy, and this is, to be honest with you, this one's no surprise. A lot of the lawsuits that Diddy's getting hit with, there's no validity to them. A lot of them are just money grabs because 86 lawsuits that are left, there's no way that guy did all that stuff. I mean, is there a possibility? Yeah, very small possibility. But for Diddy, majority of the lawsuits, I don't believe. I think they're just money grabs. Some of them obviously are really real, but majority aren't. So I want to say 80% aren't real, 20% are. Regardless, those 20% are still massive. To have that many lawsuits, 10, maybe 15 lawsuits, means you're a bad person. Let's just say that. So regardless, it's not like, oh, he's just little less lawsuits. He's a great person. So let's go over this. Earlier this year, a woman named Ashley Parham filed a lawsuit against Diddy, Odell Beckham Jr., and Druski. In it, she alleged that the three of them sexually assaulted her at a party back in 2018. They denied these allegations, and this week, the lawsuit was reportedly dismissed due to failure to prosecute. Per Billboard, plaintiffs were told several times that the lawsuit would be dismissed if they continued to miss deadlines. The suit was dismissed without prejudice, meaning plaintiffs can refile in the future if they choose to. The barrier to obtaining counsel, therefore, does not appear to be plaintiffs' capacity to seek counsel, but the willingness of counsel to be retained in the matter. United States District Judge Rita F. Lynn's order reads, there is no indication that this barrier is likely to resolve. At the time of the writing, neither Diddy nor Beckham Jr. have publicly responded to the dismissal. Druski, on the other hand, released a statement dismissing the suit as frivolous. It was only a matter of time before the frivolous lawsuit against me was dismissed. His statement begins, the evidence I submitted overwhelmingly showed that I was innocent. It proved I never knew this individual and was never even in the same state at the time of the alleged incident. From the beginning, I knew these disgusting lies would be exposed as nothing more than a malicious money grab. Through it all, I'm truly grateful for the support of my family, friends, and fans and business partners who stood by my side, even as these individuals attempted to destroy my reputation for greed. It continues, I pray for the real victims of assault. We can't allow these clout-chasing antics to deter true survivors from coming forward and speaking out against their abusers in the future. So at least Druski responded to it. I'm sure Diddy responded to it, and maybe Odell Beckham Jr. But yeah, like I said, man, some of these lawsuits are bullshit, and there's going to be a lot of lawsuits dismissed relating to Diddy. That's just the reality of it. That doesn't mean he's a good person, though. There's a lot of lawsuits, especially the Cassie one, that is huge, that a lot of stuff that he's done has been proven to be fucked up. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. So don't correlate the two as, oh, he's getting some lawsuits dismissed as he's a good person or as all these lawsuits are lies. Majority are. And I always said this, give the person the benefit of the doubt. Don't just accuse, Diddy or anybody of anything until there's solid proof, because these things can ruin lives just because of someone opening their mouth and saying some frivolous things that with no proof. Like filing a lawsuit and accusing somebody doesn't automatically mean the person's guilty that's getting, the lawsuit filed against them or accused. So yeah, continuing on, speaking of Diddy, and this is kind of very, very crazy. And I think I heard about this a little bit earlier, like when the Diddy lawsuits were first coming out, but now we got it on video. And this is Diddy being accused of blacklisting artists from secret footage. So let's go over this. Diddy was one of the biggest names in music for a long time. However, if there's anything that the countless lawsuits and allegations have suggested, it's that he was quite abusive with his powers. Somehow, though, there's another way in which the mogul was able to loom large. According to the Post Millennial, someone undercover had video footage, and here's a record executive accuse Diddy of blacklisting musicians. Or he at least had the power to do so, says Modi Schulman, former senior VP of rhythm promotion at Atlantic Records. The conversation was recorded in secret by O'Keefe Media Group. Schulman says Diddy would take videos of artists at his parties, potentially the freak-offs, and use that against them if they tried to get better record deals. Sean Combs had more to do than just whether you got a record deal or not. He could blacklist you, especially after you went to one of his parties and it seemed fun and there were girls and drugs, but now he's got you on video doing weird shit. But he didn't stop there. Solman goes on to say that he did work for the Bad Boy CEO at one point, but from the beginning, he didn't like him one bit. Diddy, at his core, is a bad guy. I did work for him. He's a fucking asshole, and I knew that from the get-go. As of yet, the incarcerated rapper hasn't responded to the footage. Moreover, there's no verification that this tactic was put to use, but it doesn't mean that people won't continue to view him in the negative light. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's like I said, this person is in somewhat being with record labels and stuff. You know, does what he say hold some weight? Potentially so. You know, there's no denying that. If somebody's at a VP, a vice president of a record label, clearly they have some type of power and know certain things that, you know, the average person that's making these accusations wouldn't know. Do I see Diddy using his power to blacklist people? 100%. I mean, Cassie is the perfect example. He locked her in a, 10, 12 album deal, promised her a music career, and never delivered that. So if he did that to her, which is 100% proven, then why wouldn't he do that to other people? So to me, I believe it's just based off of the trail of the Cassie situation. A lot of this goes back to Cassie because Cassie's lawsuit, to me, is 100% true. As she submitted the lawsuit and the details were revealed, later on, things were making sense. Photos were coming out of this and this, video of that stomping incident, like all the stuff, the pieces were coming together from her lawsuit, which showed that she was telling the truth. Hey, she was signed to Bad Boy and never saw an album released under Bad Boy. I think just one. And that was the one with Ryan Leslie that helped her with that. I don't even think that's even under Bad Boy. Probably it is. But regardless, one album, she was promising her whole career to be an artist and all this, never delivered. And used, his power to essentially say, hey, I got the power to make sure you release music and I got the power to make sure you don't. So, he did it to 50 before he even signed to, after Columbia, and 50 was basically blacklisted from the industry. He said he went to Diddy and Diddy didn't want nothing to do with him. He didn't want to sign him. Now, did he blacklist him? No, but he didn't want nothing to do with him. That's the thing. A lot of people that get mad at 50 for like having this mentality of destroying New York artists is nobody from New York wanted to fuck with him after the shooting. Everybody was just like, fuck you. He had to go all the way to the West Coast and all the way to Michigan where Eminem's at to get a record deal. Nobody was like, hey, let's get this guy on. And if they did, had a plan to just, shelve him and not have an album release at all. So, yeah, a lot of this stuff, this happens behind the scenes, man. People with power, they just feel dominant. They will blacklist people and make sure that certain people don't get into certain positions. There's nothing new about this. Nothing new. Everybody's done it at every position. I'm pretty sure every single time, at that level of that power. But interesting nonetheless, regardless, more stuff coming out. So we'll see what happens from this and if Diddy will ignore this and say, hey, this is not true, blah, blah, blah. But the stories are out there already. Nothing you can do about it. Trey Songz is in trouble again. And this guy's been in trouble like left and right. So I would not be surprised if more lawsuits, accusations, and he becomes the next R. Kelly or Diddy. Because this guy is just, I don't know what's going on with this guy, man. At one point, he was like the biggest artist. Everybody loved him. Now he's just into fights, having allegations of sexual harassment, whatever, a bunch of stuff. It's getting out of control at this point. But let's go over this article. Trey Songz was arrested in New York City over the weekend for allegedly punching a nightclub employee as the venue was closing. Prosecutors claim the singer was partying at Drama Nightclub and became needlessly irate. When a worker told them it would be shutting down around 4:25 a.m., they explained the allegations in Manhattan criminal court on Sunday as they caught the New York Post. At the arraignment hearing, authorities charged Songz with third-degree assault and second-degree mischief. The second charge stemmed from an unrelated incident. That same morning, prosecutors alleged that he also damaged approximately $1,500 worth of property at a restaurant and hookah lounge named Mira. The property included hookahs, DJ equipment, and sofas. Songz ended up getting out of a supervised release and avoided speaking about the drama outside of the courtroom. Have a good night, brother, he told one photographer when pressed for comment. Trey Songz attorney Mitchell addressed the incident in a statement provided to the New York Post. His security intervened to protect him and contain the situation, and an altercation occurred in the ensuing confusion. Michael said in the statement, despite being the target of the initial provocation, Trey was arrested. Public figures are often treated as targets for instigation in pursuit of headlines or financial gain. Trey is cooperating fully in both matters, and we are confident the full context and facts will come out to light. It's far from the first time Trey Songz has found himself in legal trouble. In 2016, he was charged with aggravated assault after going on a rant during a show in Detroit. He allegedly flung items at the audience, injuring a police officer and a photographer. He ended up taking a plea deal for disturbing the peace in that case. Songz also allegedly got into a fight with a police officer at a playoff game between the Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills in 2021. Looking ahead, Trey Songz will return to the courtroom on February 18th for another hearing about the drama nightclub incident. I think Trey Songz, man, because females are going crazy over him and just, he has all this money and you got every woman basically wanting to sleep with you and whatever the case may be, that gets to some people's heads and they think they can just do whatever and say whatever. And, but as Trey Songz has become less and less relevant, what he's doing, it's like he's just probably lashing out because people just don't care to be around him anymore like that. I don't know. I don't know what the situation is. I'm not just going to throw him under the bus and say, hey, this, and that. I'm just going off of what I see. I don't know this guy personally. I could care less. As long as he's not out here really abusing people like crazy, then yeah, if he's abusing out here like crazy and doing crazy stuff to women and all this stuff, then lock his ass up like R. Kelly and Diddy. It's that simple. But yeah, we'll see what happens moving forward. Definitely, man, Trey Songz, get your shit together because all this stuff is not worth it, man. You're a public figure, celebrity. You're just putting your name. You're being more associated with bad things than good things these past couple of years, which just throws more dirt on your name and it makes you look worse and your brand just gets diluted. But yeah, we'll see what happens moving forward. Every single morning you wake up, there is something new on 50 Cent's Instagram page. And most people have no idea what's going on. 50's just airing out somebody. But in this case, he is airing out Maino, Fabolous, Dave East, and Jim Jones. And it's because of what they said on their Let's Rap About It podcast. And of course, 50 holds no mercy for anyone. He will go at anybody that is trying him or trying to disrespect him or trying to disrespect really the Diddy documentary because he feels what he did was right. And I'm in agreement with him. I think what he did was right. There's nothing wrong with it. It's public information. They just put it into a piece so people can watch it. That's really all it is. He's not revealing really any new information. Besides the behind the scenes footage, other than that, there really wasn't anything completely brand new. So when people are, throwing he's snitching or this and that, never made sense to me. But of course, a lot of people just don't have common sense. Continuing on, 50 decided to react to a clip from their podcast where they are talking about documentaries. So the first thing that 50 posts was completely random. It had people questioning what is going on. And it's the definition of squatters is the image that he posted first. Squatters are individuals who occupy a property without legal title, permission, or lease, often in a vacant or abandoned buildings, differing from trespassers by intending to reside there long term. This is the question is like, why would 50 post this? People were like, what's going on? On 50 Cent's page, he'll just randomly post some Instagram stuff and you have no idea what's going on. So I'm here to fill in the context. And then in the next photo, he posted the Let's Rap About It podcast with Maino, Dave East, Fabolous, and Jim Jones. In the caption, he said, these guys are squatters. They owe $250,000 for the space they are filming their podcast. These bums are trying to win Best Dressed Award and can't pay their bills, which is crazy if true. You'd be surprised, man, how many of these podcasts actually aren't profitable for a lot of these artists and they just end up not doing them. And there's a reason why. I'm not going to get into it because I've been in the world, obviously, with this podcast. I know the monetization, content creation world. From here, Cameron, put eye emojis in the comments, which is hilarious. But Jim Jones, he put a story of Jim Jones loses Jersey home in foreclosure amidst sold for $100. And they put a bunch of photos of Jim Jones around these parties pretending like he's cool, basically. And then people were wondering, like, why did he post this? What's going on? And then the second post, he actually posted a clip of their podcast where they are talking about documentaries. But the clip makes it seem as if they are talking about the Diddy documentary. That's the interesting part about this clip. It's edited to make you think that they're talking about 50 Cent's Diddy documentary. And actually, if you watch the full clip in its context, they don't mention 50 or the Diddy documentary at all. But they are subliminally mentioning it because they released it literally like after the Diddy documentary came out, then they released that episode talking about documentaries. So the timing of it was, very, very, coinciding with that documentary, but they never mentioned, the name of anybody in there. They were just talking about, hey, are you okay with somebody releasing a documentary about you? That's it. They didn't mention no names or nothing. So 50 posted that clip. Check it out.
She's more like a mockumentary, shit like that. How can it even be called a documentary though? Because you call a documentary when it's not.
So as you can see with that clip, it looks like, they're talking about that documentary, but they're not. And the caption says, "I understand Diddy was your hero. Stay down with him. I don't care if you let him play with your butt. Then act like you don't remember." Maino then saw that and responded on his Instagram, and he posted a photo of 50 and curly hair with the Pimpin' Curly series. This is a Photoshop one, but he used to do Pimpin' Curly, that series, when he was, trolling Rick Ross. And in the caption, he said this: "Meet Killer Curly, ladies and gentlemen. He helped me get my record deal before, so I'm going to always be grateful. So it's going to hurt me to drag this guy to hell. Fuck is the problem, Curtis? Who has your G-Unit G-string in a bunch? Is it the B in you or the diabetes? But let's rap about it." Of course, 50 saw this, responded, and he posted like suspect videos of Fabolous with, Diddy with French Montana, which is kind of weird, shirtless, by the way. And Diddy's out here just preaching and talking all kinds of crazy stuff. And then he posted that clip that's famous where Diddy's asking Fabolous, like, why don't you ever party with me? Like, why ain't you ever partied with me? Which is weird from Diddy considering all the stuff that's going on.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear friend. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
This is a special birthday for both of us.
Stop. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Happy birthday to you. Woo! Happy birthday to you. Woo! Happy birthday, dear Fabolous. The only nigga that got the name that I want. Make a wish.
That one?
Just blow it out. It's your birthday every day.
Every day's your birthday on Drink Champs, goddamn.
I like when you like this, Daddy.
Yeah, when you put my bag.
Daddy, I like when you scrambling and
here.
scraping. When you scrambling and scraping for shit.
Look back on where I became.
Did you miss me though? For real, because it seems like a thing.
I miss
this
partying
birthday
with
party,
Puff, man.
But I'm talking about for your birthday.
Huh?
Why won't you party with me for your birthday, man?
We partied for my birthday before. You came to my party.
No, but me and you ain't never really party, you know what I'm saying? So check this out. It's me, Tyrese, Ray J, and F. Gary Gray. You know what I'm saying? I like different personalities. So I was like, I never knew they would become what they are today. But you know what I'm saying? They're like, that sounded like the type of night I want to have in Vegas. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. So Ray J is like just really like feeling like Ray J right now.
Bro, my shit running. Diddy took my ass.
Where we hanging out and what we doing, we can't really disclose. He knows better than to be talking about the things that he does with Big Brother Puff on national television. Everything ain't for everybody.
After posting that video in the caption, said, "LOL, how they just let him do whatever to them." From there, Maino appeared on Angela Yee's Way Up podcast and addressed the stuff that 50 posted on his Instagram.
All the squatters.
Yeah, he called you guys squatters and said you guys owe $250,000. So is that true?
I don't know nothing about that.
So that's Maino's response. He just basically said, "Hey, I'm with the smoke," and all that. He didn't, though, mention or like really address. He kind of just like, man, I don't know what he's talking about the rent of the podcast and owing $250,000. He didn't. He kind of just brushed past that without really addressing it like that. But so we don't know what. I'm just saying that to say we don't know if it's true or not. It was just kind of weird how Maino didn't really address that. Then after that, 50 sees that, and on his Instagram, he posts something that would really shut things down for them, like immediately, if he actually does this. And this is like next level petty. This is why you don't beef with this guy, because he just knows stuff about you that is very private, will find out things and will twist it and just destroy your whole life. So he posts a photo of him, very aggressive looking, and then he says, "I didn't have this on my list of things to do, but if you insist, I'll make time. I'm working on buying the space where you film and 50% of your podcasts. You know I don't cap." So That would be insane. If he ends up owning that building that they're recording the podcast in, and then on top of that, owning 50% of that podcast, which I don't know how that would work. Maybe they're tied to a certain company and 50 just come in and offer them X amount of dollars to own 50% of it. That would be hilarious. At that point, he's basically their boss. That's crazy. That's like next level stuff, but we'll see, man. They'll probably address it on their podcast and they'll talk about it. And, their podcasts, at least what they say, I haven't watched their podcasts ever, but they say they don't really talk about any gossipy things. They don't address like news or people going at them. They just talk about like what ifs or stuff like that. What if you're this? What if that? Do you approve of this or that? They don't really mention specific stories or names, but it was just the timing of when they released that, talking about documentaries. It coincides exactly with 50 releasing his Diddy documentary. So that's where all that came from. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, what will happen out of this. I don't think 50. What's crazy to me is like this podcast of them, what they're doing. Like, one, I'm surprised Fabolous is a part of it because Fabolous is like next level compared to them. Like Fabolous is at a different level, like musically. He's dropped way more hit records, way more albums. Like Maino, Dave East, and Jim Jones, they're kind of in the same category. It makes sense for them to do a podcast together. But Fabolous could do something way bigger and better. And from what it seems like in the podcast clip, because I haven't watched their podcast, it doesn't seem like he's really interested in the conversation. But that's my take on that, at least. Yeah, let me know what you guys think and what you think is going to happen moving forward. This is a cool announcement. Nelly and the St. Lunatics are scheduled to drop an album executive produced by Metro Boomin. I'm excited for this because this is the type of stuff I look for, old school mixing with new school. Nelly has just come through with a major announcement, and it's sure to build a lot of anticipation for the 2000s rap fans, aka me. During a performance on Sunday, December 15th, the country grammar artist revealed that him and his collective St. Lunatics are going to drop a new album next year, but that's not all. The St. Lunatics native shared that another superstar from his hometown will be assisting its creation, St. Lunatics. 2026 executive produced by Metro Boomin. St. Louis, we in the building, we turning up 2026 one time. This is big for a couple of reasons. For starters, this will be the group's first album since their 2001 Free City. The project is home to hits like Midwest Swing, Let Me In Now, and more. Secondly, this is another incredible accomplishment for Metro Boomin. Not only that he has been an icon for the trap subgenre and pushed the sound further, but he's also now getting the chance to showcase what he can do in a different lane. He's already delivered the early 2000s Atlanta sound, so there's no doubt he won't do his birthplace aesthetic right. This will be the second time in the last 3 years that he's held an executive producer role. Metro did it for Young Thug's Business is Business as well. Interesting. Let me play the clip.
Love in St. Louis from top to bottom one time. Again, St. Lunatics 2026. Executive produced by Metro Boomin. St. Louis, we in the building. We turning up 2026 one time.
I'm really excited, man. I like, newer artists or newer producers or whatever mixing with the old artists. I think that's a lane that hasn't been explored a lot, and I think that could be the new wave for the hip-hop sound. Clips has done it really well where when they released their album, they matched, the old sound that they had with the new sound really well and blended it together. Pharrell obviously did a lot of that, but that mixture, like people who can execute on that mixture really well are going to perform really well in their career. I mean, look at Clips right now. They had their that Clips album was I think the second best first week sales that they ever had in their career as a group. So that shows you right there that, they rebranded, they redid themselves, they made it a whole new thing. And the rollout was really good. I hope Nelly does a proper rollout with this too, and not just like drop the album as a surprise. But yeah, I'm excited. I just want to report on that because I can't wait for it. Speaking of older artists, Nas revealed that Eminem shot down a collab that he wanted to do. And this would have been really interesting, but I get the reason why. So let's go over it. Nas says that Eminem turned down his request for a feature on the song Daughters. He explained that Eminem told him that he had already made enough music about his relationship with his daughter, Haley, at that point. Nas explained how the interaction went down during an interview with Joe Budden. So let's actually play this clip.
Every record I do is not a battle. I remember I had sent the song Daughters to Eminem, and at the time he had spent so much time speaking on Daughters, he kind of left. He was like, "Thank you, but I'm not gonna." I told my daughter I'm not gonna do anymore. Hope it's cool. He's cool with me saying this. I'm not doing any more songs directly about daughters at the moment because that's a sensitive issue with all the music I put out. But he was like, I think the message was like, thank you, because most people want to do songs where they're battling me on a record. It was refreshing to get a record where you're not coming for me. So I don't think every record I do with people is like I'm battling them. You definitely want to go off and make sure you represent properly. Represent yourself, because that helps the record become bigger. So I think
that's hilarious, because every song that Eminem jumps on, everybody wants to battle, of course, because he's one of the best. So people want to like put their pen game up against Eminem. But hey, that's a valid point, man. Eminem has been making a lot of music about his family, and I can understand why he, doesn't really want to make music about them. Yeah, he did it on the death of Slim Shady, where he had 2 more records, but I think that's it, man. I think he's kind of out of the situation. I think he's going to more focus on, just having fun with the music. I think he's already told his life story in a lot of ways. Maybe he can make a song about his grandson. That could be the next kind of lane, because he's a grandfather now, which is crazy to say. Yeah, I respect it, and I would have enjoyed the track, because another Nas and Eminem collab I think would have been cool, and this one would have been just them two together on one track, which I would have liked. But yeah, the DJ Premier Nas album really was underwhelming. It wasn't really that, I was expecting more, but you got to think these guys aren't in their prime, and that's where I get worried about. I'm like, if Eminem and 50 dropped their collab album, it's probably going to be underwhelming, because they're not in their prime anymore. The music ain't going to hit like it would have hit if it was like 2006 or 2005 or, even in 2010, when there was a rumor with them doing a collab album because Jay-Z and Kanye did Watch the Throne, or 2011, I guess you could say. That would have hit better, at least at that time, because 50 was more active in music at that time as well. And Eminem just hit his like second stride with Recovery. And, instead, Eminem goes with Royce da 5'9", which I get it. Lyrically, it makes more sense, but like, nah, man, you do a 50 and collab album. You don't do a fucking Royce collab album. No disrespect to Royce, but the 51 would have been way better. It would have made way more sense. But yeah, that's the only thing I was frustrated about, is that project kind of took that, instead of the 50 and M, it was 50 and Royce. Bad Meets Evil, which is a decent album. It was decent. It wasn't like this great album, but it was, it was pretty good. But yeah, that's that's a cool little insight, and I agree with Eminem, at least on his stance on it. But yeah, it still would have been cool to hear. I could hear Eminem on that track 100%. Continuing on, we reported on The Weeknd securing $1 billion deal. At least he was in talks of doing it for his catalog of music. So let's go over this. Abel, aka The Weeknd, may have just inked a trend-setting catalog deal. According to Variety, the Canadian superstar is partnering with Lyric Capital Group, who are investing in his catalog from the beginning through 2025. That means it doesn't apply to anything in 2026 and beyond. Talks of this happening were first reported in August of this year, but as we teased, this isn't a normal catalog sale. Instead, The Weeknd and his team are still maintaining complete creative control. In a Lyric rep statement to the publication, they say from the beginning of the meeting, it was clear to all at Lyric that Abel would not sell his catalog. He wanted to be more innovative and creative in the way we establish a partnership. They continued, to that end, through this venture, we constructed and launched a new business model with Abel and his iconic catalog, whereby Abel and his team have the freedom to execute their creative vision with the entirety of his rights, both publishing and masters. This unique catalog deal sets a new standard for artist equity and control. It was worth noting that this will not affect The Weeknd's current label ties. He's still with XO Republic Universal Music Group. Universal Music Publishing Group will administer his publishing catalog. If this wasn't enough of a home run for the Hurry Up Tomorrow singer, this deal is worth a pretty penny. Previous reports from the likes of Bloomberg and Billboard share that the 35-year-old's assets were valued at least $1 billion. As of yet, though, the value of this contract is not yet available. However, if it is, then it will be the second most expensive catalog acquisition was Sony, nabbing Queens for 1 point. What the fuck is this article even talking about? Wildly enough, though, this isn't the only $1 billion accomplishment for The Weeknd. His massive After Hours Till Dawn world tour grossed that much, which I talked about that tour. It was like 5 years of touring, and they just combined it into one to make it this massive gross tour. And he dropped like an album in between that tour. So how does that even count as the same tour? I talked about that. That's just like a cheating way of saying, oh, I have the biggest tour, when you combine fucking like 3-4 years of touring into one. Yeah, I don't know, man. This partnership is interesting. They're saying he owns everything, but yet they like give him all this money. I don't think these companies give a lot of money without owning stuff. Something is being hidden here to make the Weeknd's image look better, which I'm not surprised they do that when they release these press releases. They say, oh, he's such a genius and he still does this and that. There has to be something that's going on where, all that money that he's getting, there is some type of like, deal where he's not owning everything, because it just doesn't make sense to me. But it could make sense in the sense that they are owning anything in the future, because they did say that this is for this year, and for this year and back, Weeknd owns his stuff. But that anything that 2026 and beyond, let me see, Lyric Capital. Yeah, so they're investing in the catalog that's coming out in the future for the Weeknd. So his back catalog isn't getting sold. So he still owns his back catalog. They're just putting up money for something in the future of what he does. So that makes sense, I guess, on that aspect. But these type of deals, it just makes me wonder. It's like, do you really need that much money? Like, what's the point of this? Why not just keep your stuff and not sell and make and try to get this upfront money? Unless you're investing or you need the money for specifically something. It makes me question what Drake said in his diss tracks of like the Weeknd's like struggling for money because everybody's spending his money and he's not keeping any of it. That's why he probably needs this deal. I don't know. We'll see though. But these catalog deals have me question whether the artist needs it or not. Like Jay-Z, like we were talking about the Memphis Bleak thing, right? Memphis Bleak, called Jay-Z, hey, should you sell a catalog? Jay-Z said, I'll never sell my catalog, because Jay-Z probably isn't hurting for money at all. I can only see somebody doing this if they really need money badly. Not to say that the Weeknd is poor. I mean, he just did a tour with all that money. Not saying he's poor by any means of the word, but he's probably just not bringing in the money that he thinks he is, because a lot of these artists, they're tied into a lot of deals where money's being taken from them. And unless they're like on top of everything, there's people probably stealing money that they don't even notice. So that's, I wouldn't be surprised if down the line there's something that comes out where Weeknd was getting robbed. Because it's hard to keep track. It really is hard to keep track of all that stuff, man. Once you get to a certain level, like there's so much money coming in, there's so many people involved that in that whole process, there's going to be somewhere where money gets taken somewhere. And it's going to be, you're probably not going to notice it for a while. And then by the time you notice it, you put a lawsuit and all this shit. And, it's just a whole headache. But yeah, we'll see what happens moving forward. I mean, that's essentially the deal. But, it could be, could be more details revealed down the line. Let's talk about Billboard announcing a rule change. And this is crazy. And this is what I'm talking about by streaming doesn't mean the same as physical album sales. Because now they're changing the rules where less streams count as more album sales. But the artists that did those streams before these rules had to do more work to get album sales. The reason why they're doing this is because to make it seem like albums are selling more. Because, you got to reduce the bar because the bar was set too high. So now artists aren't selling that much. So now we got to reduce the bar to make it seem like artists are selling more. It's a shit show. Let's just say that. Billboard is implementing a new rule change that will give streaming more weight on the Billboard 200 and Hot 100 charts in 2026. One album unit will now be equivalent to 2,500 ad-supported or 1,000 paid subscription streams generated by songs from an album. Previously, a track required 3,750 ad-supported streams or 1,250 paid streams to qualify as an album unit. So they took that 3,750, reduced it down to 2,500, and then they took that, 1,250 and reduced it to 1,000. Way easier, especially the album one that drops by a lot. The change will take effect on the charts dated January 17th, which track listening habits from January 2nd to January 8th. In an announcement on Tuesday, Billboard wrote that the move will better reflect an increase in streaming revenue and changing consumer behaviors. The outlet further explained the change remains that it will take 33.3% fewer ad-supported on-demand streams of songs from an album and 20% fewer paid subscription on-demand streams of songs from an album to equal an album unit. The ratio between paid/subscription and ad-supported on-demand streaming tiers will additionally be adjusted to 1, 2, and 5 for the Billboard Hot 100, along with corresponding streaming and song consumption charts. When chart data shared the news on X, fans had mixed reactions. Billboard finally admitting streams run the game now. Charts about to look very different, argue with the results, one user wrote. To make this rule fair, you got to work out a deal with Spotify to ban autoplay. It creates fake numbers. After this, what happened is YouTube stood their ground. And YouTube said, you guys don't want to count our streams as actual streams? Well, then we don't want to work with you guys no more. So Billboard will no longer be, at least unless they work out a deal or something to make this possible, Billboard will no longer be the true indication of what an artist is selling anymore, because now you don't even count YouTube. And YouTube is one of the biggest, if not the biggest platform when it comes to music streams. Like, how can you not include that? So let's go over this. YouTube pulls out of Billboard charts. Billboard uses an outdated formula that weighs subscription-supported streams higher than ad-supported. This doesn't reflect how fans engage with music today and ignores the massive engagement from fans who don't have a subscription. We're simply asking that every stream is counted fairly and equally, whether it's a subscription-based or ad-supported, because every fan matters and every play should count 100%. After a decade-long partnership and extensive discussions, they are unwilling to make meaningful changes. Therefore, after January 16, 2026, our data will no longer be delivered to Billboard or factored into their charts. And there you have it. That's crazy. Like, you know, many artists do well on YouTube, and they do well with that translates to sales. I mean, NBA YoungBoy is one of the people that got so many RIAA certifications because of YouTube. He does insane numbers on there. But the artists now that do numbers on YouTube doesn't translate, doesn't matter, which is crazy. Like, YouTube is right. Every stream should be counted for equally. I don't know why they're putting more weight on somebody that pays for a stream versus somebody that doesn't. Like, they're still listening to the song. One is just listening with ads and the other isn't. The other is through a paid wall. Same shit. They're both listening to the song. I really don't understand. Maybe I'm uneducated in this and I don't understand the matter, but it just doesn't make sense to me. Everything should be counted equally. And this is my issue with streaming. This is why I say it'll never equate to actual album sales. And it's not because I'm an outdated old head. It's because of this shit. Think about this. When CDs came out, did they ever say, hey, because this CD's selling for $10, this counts as one CD. And because this CD's selling for $16, it counts as 1.5 CD. They never said that. Only time you could actually manipulate the system was release a double album. 2 discs on one CD. Then it would count as double the sales, like Outkast did with their Speaker Love Box album. They sold 5 million units, but it went diamond because it was 2 CDs in there, counted as a double album. You know, same with Tupac, All Eyes on Me, double album, counted as a double disc. It sold whatever, diamond or whatever the fuck. A lot of artists did double diamond, and they sold double, not double diamond, but they sold double the sales because they did 2 CDs on one album. That's the only time you could actually manipulate the system back then. To like boost your sales in one way or another. Would labels sneak in and do these radio play and do these little things and buy their own artist albums sometimes? Yeah, sometimes I would be there, here and there. But not like this. There's like fake bot stream. There's all kinds of shit going on. There's rules changing left and right. Artists like Cardi B are adding old-ass 4 or 5-year-old songs to their album and counting it as like officially part of their album, which is crazy. Like, there's so many different rules. It's not fair to the artists, that we're actually putting in work. It's really unfair to the people that are doing physical CDs. That's what I'm saying. Physical CDs is like, that should be counted as a whole different tier. That should be like, there should be no artist that could even compare to the physical CD world, because to get like Eminem show, right? When physical CDs of the Eminem show were coming out, about 25 to 30 million copies, maybe even more, were physically sold. The album has sold, obviously, to this day, about 41 million, but obviously streamings are getting added into that, so we don't know the exact physical CDs that it sold. Let's just say 30 million, right? And 11 million from streams. Let's just say that, which I highly doubt. It's probably more, the ratio is more towards albums, but regardless, 30 million people went out of their way to go to a store to buy this person's CD. Now with streaming, is just clicking, pushing a button, that's it. Like, nobody really cares. There's no effort into it. And yet, we don't count album sales as more. It should be something way more. But yeah, I get the system has changed. It can't be like the same as it once was. And you can't go back to CDs because cars don't even have CDs anymore. A lot of cars don't. You can't even put a CD at all in any of these cars, which is unfortunate. But my car does, at least. Mine's a 2023. So there is CDs at certain extents. But it's just, I think the CDs has come, like, you can't put a CD anywhere. Like on this computer, On my laptop right here, I don't have a CD slot. I have to buy an external CD player to play that on here. It's just an old school way of doing things. That's really what it is. It's an outdated way of doing things, you know. A CD can hold, what, 20, 22 songs at max. That's it. Versus your phone that can hold thousands and thousands and thousands of songs, no problem. So that's, you know, that's the difference. But we're never going to go back to the old school way. But I say this to say, these artists that are doing just streams cannot be equally counted as the artists that were selling physical albums. They just can't. And I know what people are going to say, oh, what about, you know, Drake? Yeah, that's why Drake's not the biggest. Well, Drake, when he was at the tail end of CDs selling, which he was, 2009, CDs stopped selling, or like mainly streaming became a thing in like 2016, 2017. So he had like a good 6 years of CD selling, 7 years. And he did that. Take Care sold 4 million copies, physical CDs. So he was selling albums. Don't say like, oh, like these artists, oh, they can't sell physical. No, like the artists that came out when CDs were still a thing, they were selling CDs, the big ones. You know, so you can't put them under that. You know, you can't put a Kendrick or a Drake or a, I don't know, whoever the fuck that was at the time popping under that. Because Meek Mill is selling physical CDs. A lot of these artists that came out around that time were selling physical CDs. Now these artists that just do streaming, different story. You can then put it on them and say, hey, you guys never sold physicals. You guys can't sell physicals in this day of time, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, these rules are just constantly changing, and it doesn't make it fair for other artists. Like, they need to just stick to one rule and say, this is it. This is it. This is what we're sticking to. There's no change in what counts and what doesn't. Whether you guys like it or not, this is the rules, and make it even for everybody. Or if they're adjusting this, then adjust it for the previous stuff that came out and adjust their numbers and get their RIAA certifications changed. You know, they even had the 6ix9ine and Nicki Minaj song Fifi from 8 times platinum down to 5 times platinum. They took it down because even 6ix9ine admitted he was botting the shit out of that song and boosting its streams. And they said, okay, you admitted that you're boosting your streams, so let's reduce this down 3 million copies, which is crazy. Yeah, it's just harder to track things, harder, the rules are just constantly getting changed. And yeah, it's ridiculous out here. But I just wanted to give my take on it. I think it's unfair. I think it's something that just, you can't track this properly. A lot of bots are in it, and it's just going to get worse and worse as time goes on because of AI. Honestly, album sales don't even matter to me. Like, right now in this day and age, it's gotten so fucked up that, it doesn't matter to me anymore, man. I could give 2 fucks of what an artist sells that I like. Back then I would care because it was cool to see the numbers and, physical CDs. Now it's just like, it's bullshit. A lot of this shit's bullshit. It doesn't make sense. And yeah, that's my take on it. But yeah, we'll see what happens moving forward. Another major news in the industry, and this is really interesting because this is going to cause a back and forth war between these 2 companies. And it's going to be interesting to see how things get executed on both ends. So it was revealed that Netflix announced a partnership with iHeartMedia Radio, the whole iHeartMedia Radio publication, right? Which hosts Joe and Jadakiss, which hosts The Breakfast Club, which hosts a lot of big platforms. Netflix partnered with them to bring those videos to their platform, removing them from YouTube. So I don't know if they're going to, all the old stuff they're going to remove from YouTube or just the new stuff is going to their platform. Let's go over the article. The iconic talk show, The Breakfast Club, will begin streaming on Netflix in 2026 after iHeartMedia announced a partnership with the platform on Tuesday. The deal will see a total of 15 iHeart podcasts added to Netflix. Others include Dear Chelsea, Bobby Bones Presents the Bobbycast, My Favorite Murder, and more. Bob Pittman, CEO of iHeartMedia, added in press release obtained by The Hollywood Reporter, audio podcasting has been the fastest growing medium over the past 20 years, and now we're thrilled to expand that experience with exciting new category, video podcasts. Netflix has a leading video-first service, and this partnership perfectly complements our strong audio foundation. Work with Netflix, an important leader in entertainment, gives fans one more way to connect with personalities they love and opens the door to new audiences, including viewers discovering these shows for the first time. With this partnership, we are incredibly excited to offer our members such unmatched variety and to deliver highly entertaining podcasts featuring some of the world's most dynamic personalities, added Laura Smith, Netflix Vice President of Content Licensing and Programming Strategy. Back in October, Netflix announced a similar partnership with Spotify Studios and The Ringer. The deal confirmed the addition of several other podcasts to the streaming site, including the Bill Simmons podcast, the Zach Lowe Show, the McKay Show, and the Rewatchables. Before Tuesday's announcement, Hot 97 made headlines for canceling another iconic morning talk show. The reason why they're doing this, And I don't know if they're going to be taking all the Breakfast Club footage and just taking it off of YouTube and putting it onto Netflix, or they're just doing the new content. We'll see. I think they're going to be probably taking all the footage and taking it off YouTube. But the reason why they're doing this is because of this. YouTube has seen a significant increase in people watching YouTube videos on their TV. I'm almost willing to bet some of you are watching this podcast on your TV potentially. Some are on your laptop, some are on your phone. But the TV one has skyrocketed. And what is Netflix known for being on TV? You know, usually when people put Netflix, they put it on their TV. YouTube was known for kind of a mixture, right? TV, phone, laptop, like a mixture of that. But now they're starting to dominate the TV. And a lot more people are watching on their TV. So what does that do? That takes space away from where Netflix was at dominating. So with that, they're basically saying, hey, let's try to take shows away from YouTube, put it on our platform. But here's the difference between the two. YouTube is free. Other than the ads that you have to watch, it's free. You don't have to pay for anything. Netflix, even with ads, you have to pay something. It's a paywall behind it. So the way I view it is there's an audience for each. You know, YouTube to me is still going to be dominant forever because there's so much variety of content. Like you can't watch compilation videos on Netflix. You can watch a random Family Guy compilation video on YouTube at any time that you want to. And there's no paywall behind any of it. You know, besides ads that you got to watch, there's no paywall behind any of it. Or if the creator decides to do a membership program where they put a paywall behind it. Other than that, it's all pretty much free to watch. You know, as long as you have internet, you're watching YouTube, no problem. Netflix, you have to pay to get in no matter what. At the lowest tier, which I think is like $7 a month or $8 a month, you're watching that with ads no matter what. So there's a huge difference, and I think that hinders audience growth when you're on Netflix and you're a pay to watch, like you have a paywall behind you. That does hinder to a certain extent audience growth. What's going to happen is YouTube is going to respond like they just did. They just announced that the Oscars are going to be on YouTube exclusively after their deal with ABC. And ABC has been hosting the Oscars forever, like literally like 50, 60, 70, forever. Let's say 70 years, whenever the Oscars started. ABC has been hosting it. Now YouTube is taking it. So there's going to be a tug of war back and forth. And I think YouTube is eventually going to have their own, like, they do already have a paywall with premium, right? You pay that, and I think it's worth it. Premium is like way worth the money. Like if you're somebody who uses YouTube every single day, like premium is 100% worth every dollar that you're spending. I mean, you get no ads ever. You get YouTube Music, which has everything ever uploaded by people. You can listen to all the music all you want to. It's just way worth the money. And there's other perks that I totally forget about, that it's like free shit here and there. They'll send you like really cool. It's worth the money. But they do have a paywall, but they're never going to go to that paywall, you know, fully into it. So there's going to be a tug of war of like, are people willing to pay a certain price to watch certain content? For me personally, I haven't watched The Breakfast Club really like that. Now the new episodes, hey, if 50's on there and they start getting certain guests and I want to see those interviews, you know, it's gonna be interesting to see how that content even translates to social media, because ripping it off of Netflix and posting on social media might cause people not to, you know, might be Netflix blocking it and not allowing you to post it. Who knows what happens, what the rules will be. It'll be really interesting. But I don't even pay for it. I just paid for Netflix this month because of the Diddy documentary. I don't even pay for Netflix. I just don't even have time to watch a bunch of this stuff. The most that I've ever paid for is Hulu, because Hulu has like TV shows, movies, you know, and their exclusive stuff and all that. So that's why I like the mixture of what Hulu offers. But yeah, that's kind of my take on it. I just think I'm just curious to see where this goes with YouTube and Netflix. They're going to have this tug of war, and they're going to be, and this is the same thing that happened with Spotify, where they're just offering money bags of podcasts and just throwing money at people like Joe Rogan, 100 and something million to get their video podcast going, which didn't really do. I don't know if it did much though. I got to actually look into that, but yeah, that's the news on them. And it's just interesting. The landscape is changing, and it's going to continue changing. And it's either, you know, you adapt and you adjust, or you do with whatever. I think for me personally, if I was offered to go on Netflix or stay on YouTube, I would stay on YouTube, because I feel like YouTube gives you more creative freedom versus Netflix. I feel like if you get on Netflix, you're kind of limited to, maybe, I don't know. I've never signed a Netflix deal, so I can't say what it is, but they'll probably limit you to certain things. That's my assumption. With YouTube, yeah, you have to watch what you say on certain things. Of course, every platform has that, but it's not to the extent of like a Netflix. They literally control a lot when you're creating stuff, but we'll see. We'll see what happens moving forward. Let's get to the Billboard Hot 100. And Mariah Carey is still at number one with All I Want for Christmas Is You. Number 2 is Brenda Lee, Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree. All Christmas records. I'm not even going to go over these. Number 6 is Golden Hunter X. Number 7 is Fate of Apelia, Taylor Swift. Yep, Christmas, going down the list. Just a bunch of Christmas songs. I can't wait till Christmas is over because these charts need to get back to normal. Chris Brown, It Depends, is like one of the most normal songs on here. It's at number 51. Gunna, WGFT, number 56. BX The Plug, Hell at Night, number 64. NBA Youngboy, Shot Calling, number 70. Lil Baby, Playboy Cardi, and Schoolie, Let's Do It, debuted at number 71. Metro Boomin, Take Me Through There, number 73. Tyler, the Creator, Sugar on My Tongue, number 82. Airtime, Cardi B, number 83. And I think that is it. Yeah, that is it. And that is it for today's episode of the Diverse Mentality Podcast. As always, appreciate you guys. Spotify, Deezer, Podcast, YouTube, all that. Have an amazing night, day, whenever you listen to this, and peace.